Bye-bye.
Let me know if you come across that cover to the thing.
Definitely getting audio of something outside.
Oh, I think that's my daughter sending my
Staying outside though. Out in the lobby.
in the lobby. Yeah, it's probably sending through the street.
welcome to First Unitarian. Please rise and bow your spirit as we sing, Come Whoever You Are. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Now let's do a couple more, maybe a little faster even. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, and come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Even faster. Just kidding. No, that's okay.
Welcome to Sunday morning at First Unitarian Church of Rochester. My name is Reverend AJ. I use he and him pronouns. And I don't think my pronouns are cause for applause, but I do use the name now of Dad. So, very excited to be with you all after my parental leave. There's pictures of Hazel and my wife Ada, and it's a delight to have her. And I know many of you are excited to see her and welcome Hazel to our congregation and our community here, and we're looking forward to that too once she is old enough and has vaccines and all of that jazz. So rest assured, when it's all good and ready to happen, we'll be excited to bring her here to meet everyone. Here at First Unitarian Church of Rochester, our mission is that through spiritual connection in community, we listen deeply to others and ourselves, we open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. We acknowledge with respect the keepers of the Western Door and part of the Haudenosaunee people, the Seneca Nation, on whose ancestral and contemporary lands First Unitarian now stands. If this is your first Sunday with us, or one of the first few Sundays with us, please connect with our welcome table. We'd love to get you connected and let you learn more about what's going on here, and for us to learn a little bit more about you. If you are here this morning because you are going through a hard time, or you are concerned about somebody else that is, or you have a great joy on your heart that you're just bursting to share with somebody, please connect with our lay pastoral care associate. I don't see one necessarily right at the moment, but there is probably someone with a stole around to connect to. We want to offer our congratulations and thanks to the First Light players for their successful production, and everyone involved, of A Glowing Halo, a play about the eclipse and astronomy. And if you thought that between that and the actual eclipse that we had earlier in April, that we were done with space and star stuff here at First Unitarian, well, we're Unitarian Universalists. We love star stuff. And including this upcoming Saturday is, of course, the High Holy Day of May the 4th. And so we are having our Star Wars-themed gifts and talent auction on Saturday. So that's not, a threat of any kind. That's just a friend. But we do need people to sign up, make donations, make some bidding, register to attend, and we will see you there. And then in a few weeks, on May 19th, it's going to be our Music Sunday. We're all very excited for everything that Pablo and the music program has put together. But it will be our first Sunday going to one service. So at 10:30, which if you've been coming to Connections, nothing will really change for you, except you'll come to worship first, and then Connection will follow. So one service at 10:30 starting on May 19th. Leading worship for us this morning is Reverend Shari Halliday-Quan. As I said, Pablo, our music director, is with us, and our worship associate is Massey, who grew up in our own congregation, and we are excited to congratulate her on her acceptance to Harvard Divinity School. Where she will begin, or I should say continue, her journey towards becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. So we send our love and appreciation, and I invite her to light the chalice as we say our unison words together. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit one more time as we sing together, How Could Anyone?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Massey. I use she and her pronouns, and I want to talk to you all about religious education today. I grew up in the church, and for as long as I can remember, First Unitarian has been like a second home to me, and I owe that mostly to our RE program. Like many kids, for a while, let's just say I wasn't extremely enthused about going to church every Sunday on one of my 2 days off. But I do thank my parents for not giving in to my demands, petitions, and ransom notes and making me go anyway, because it turned out to be a pretty solid foundation for a lot of my life. For example, I made some of my first friends in our K-5 program, and I also credit that program with fostering my passion for social justice and activism, as that was the first time I had heard the stories of people like Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony, who later became a big inspiration to me. In Spiritual Survivor, our middle school program, I developed my love of music by joining the children's choir, and I also developed a deep curiosity about other religions and faiths during our explorations of other places of worship. It was in Spiritual Survivor where I think my identity as a UU really took hold. Also, OWL gave me something to brag about whenever anyone brought up sex ed. All my friends growing up had to hear, well, my church actually has a super great comprehensive sex ed program, so I know a lot. and I think they got sick of it. However, by far the most meaningful RE experience for me was coming of age. It was exactly what I needed as I entered that crucial stage in my life where I was forming much of my identity. And I found that I really needed that push to think really hard about what I believed in, what I valued, and what I wanted my relationship with Unitarian Universalism to be. I also formed extremely strong bonds with the other kids in that group that I still hold very dearly to this day. They taught me that even though this was a very personal process, I did not have to go through it alone, and that it was okay to be vulnerable and with others while I was figuring all this stuff out. It was in this program that finally tipped me over into saying, yeah, I think this whole UU thing is for me. But most of all, I think it was the adults in RE that made the most difference. Both the RE staff and volunteers put so much love and care into the programs, and it made it feel really, really special. That's why when Reverend Shari asked me to lead Coming of Age this year, I was really excited, but I was also really, really nervous. I mean, how could I stack up to the amazing leaders I had during my RE experience? There was some low-level imposter syndrome in leading a program that was so important to me growing up. But I'm really, really glad that I stuck through it because it made it clear that RE is one of the foundations of this faith. It is so, so important. And as I go off to seminary this fall to study Unitarian Universalism, that is something I will hold with me. And I hope all of you hold that with you too. I now invite you to rise and greet your neighbor and tell them the name of a teacher that had a profound impact on your life.
Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Let's join in singing as we're able. Here we go. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Last time. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest.
Please join me now in the spirit of meditation, prayer, and reflection. Great mystery which grounds us and surrounds us. Divine presence known by many names and in many ways. Give us rest. Give us a few moments of rest in silence. Spirit of life and love, great mystery, give us rest, for we come tired and weary from this great living in between birth and death, between sickness and health, between the hard past and the promised future, between our worst mistakes and our highest aspirations. Tired we are like new parents, giving birth and caring for a world that is yet to be born, a world born always anew, a nascent future wholly dependent on our attention and care to bring it into the fullness of its being. This week, as Passover comes to a close, as Seders have been held in homes, temples, and in protest camps, may we celebrate this ancient story of liberation out of bondage and find inspiration to take our own first tentative steps of an uncertain journey towards the promised land of collective peace and prosperity, allowing at the same time the space to mourn the journeys cut short, the loved ones we have lost, and the long distance yet to go. Our hearts break with every act of hate, every act of violence, every act of war and of oppression in the world. May our breaking and bleeding hearts fuel movement towards solidarity, towards peace, and a boundless compassion whose only side chosen is love, whose only side chosen is compassion, and is everyone. May there be freedom and safety for Palestinians the world over. May there be freedom and safety for Jews the world over. May the students in universities the world over be safe from the violence of their governments, safe from the hatred of anti-Semitism, safe from the hatred of Islamophobia. May our leaders and our communities writ large find the strength to lead with compassion, to listen with less fear, and to safeguard always the path towards a better tomorrow. And as our own corner of the world turns more deeply into spring, and Beltane or May Day arrives, may we all claim the joy inherent in what it means to be alive, to be a moving, breathing, inseparable, and interdependent part of Mother Earth, that great parent to us all. May we honor her as well as the generations to come to whom we are responsible. May we move along with the cosmic dance, always towards greater love and greater joy and greater peace, finding our place in the unfolding of being. Finding ourselves together in this moment in community for these hours, may we rest, may we learn, may we resist, and may we commit. From our resting, may we find peace. From our learning, may we find nuance. From our resistance, may we find joy. And from our commitments to one another, may we find liberation. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. We enter now into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it on the altar of community and spirit. Honoring the complexities of life, I invite you to bring to mind whatever grief or gratitude or growth is alive within you this morning. Online, you're invited to share in the chat. And here in the sanctuary, you'll be invited forward to light an electronic candle. If you would like an usher to bring one of the candles to you, please simply raise your hand. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts. All that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is held in this community and by a larger love that will not forsake us. Amen.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, circle. Let's sing together as we're able. And circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Everything our church does for ourselves and others is made possible by what we bring to it. Each week we practice shared generosity to support the work and witness of Unitarian Universalism in Rochester, and half of our Sunday offering goes to a partner organization working to create a more just and loving world. Today we share our plate with UU School Partnership, one of our social justice ministries here at First Unitarian. Their mission is to support schools 15 and 22 and their goals of being an enriching learning environment while meeting the individual and family needs of their students. They also advocate with parents, teachers, and school administration for change within schools 15 and 22 and within the RCSD. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, our offering will now be received with gratitude.
Our reading today comes from the Reverend Anna Levy-Lyons, and it's from the perspective of Miriam. Miriam is the sister of Moses and Aaron. Miriam was the last of the Jewish people to come through the Red Sea as they escaped from Egypt. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm going to explode. I haven't been able to sleep for weeks, ever since these plagues started ripping through Mitzrayim. The air is crackling with electricity. The anticipation has been building, and I just can't stand it. This prophecy from long ago that God would remember us and deliver us from this hellhole, it's actually happening. And, well, it's finally actually happening. It feels like we're pregnant, all of us together, like we're one giant, swollen, pregnant belly, and the labor pains are here, and we are about to give birth. We're about to give birth to ourselves. I can't wait to see who we are once we are born. Not everybody is as excited, though. They were skeptical. They are skeptical still. I don't know how they could still have doubts now that we've seen all the amazing things that God has been doing to get us out of here. I mean, frogs, really? How did God even think of that? But they kept saying, oh, it's not going to work. Something bad's going to happen. It's going to mess everything up. It always does. We better just keep our heads down. We better just go to work tomorrow, like always. I don't know how they can think that. I don't know how anyone can live like that. But we needed everyone on board, and so when the Pharaoh said go, we needed everyone to turn their faces toward her, to drop everything and run toward it. This whole thing could crash and burn if the people didn't commit to it. If they couldn't just seize this tiny little sliver, it would just pass us by. And I, for one, was not going to sit around, and leave everybody to chance. So I ran from house to house. I pounded on doors. I yelled, we have to go now. We can't wait. I literally pulled covers off of people in their beds. I helped other people's little children get dressed. I was feeding other people's animals for the journey. Women gave me patronizing smiles. They said, we can't go yet. Our bread dough hasn't even had a chance to rise yet. We'll go later. That was the number one excuse. Our bread has not had a chance to rise. I would shout, it doesn't matter, just take it the way it is. Our liberation is here, our liberation is now. This is going to become the bread of our freedom. And they woke up. One by one, the dull, glazed look left their eyes, and a shy spark that I hadn't seen in a long time popped up. There was a guilty, giddy joy. They wrapped their unleavened bread in a cloth and packed it, and the spark passed from person to person, and suddenly everyone was moving fast. Everything was being dismantled. Everything was in motion. And much was left behind. To be fair, it wasn't everyone. A lot of people stayed in Mitzrayim. They were too scared. But I convinced hundreds to go. I was the last one out, and I raced back and threw in a few things into my bag, only the essentials. And I took one last look at this little shack that had been my home for my whole life. And I remembered that I had forgotten my tambourine. My heart was pounding. I went back, I grabbed the tambourine, and I ran. I was the last one out. So my path, not Miriam's, my path to being Unitarian Universalist moved through other faith traditions. I didn't grow up in a faith context, and I surprised myself by wanting to go to a faith-based university for college. I had heard Americans were religious, but I grew up in Los Angeles, and I knew bad Mormons and aspiring Scientologists. I didn't really know anyone really religious. I knew a few people who had been bar or bat mitzvahed, but mostly it was for the party. And so I wanted to meet some of these really, really religious Americans. And so I ended up going to a Catholic school. It was a toss-up between a Jewish school and a Catholic school, and well, I didn't really know anything about religion, and so I went to the one that gave me the most money. And I was surprised to learn that what I thought was a sociological experiment, a chance to be among religious people for a while and then move on with my life, turned out to be something that struck me very deeply. I didn't become Catholic for a host of reasons, but the people I encountered there had their faith as a grounding and generative force that I wanted in my life. I had a holy envy, which is like envy, but when you're a minister, you get to call it holy. Catholicism carved out a space within me that, when I was ready for it, Unitarian Universalism came and sat down within. But it could have just as easily been Judaism had I gone to that other school. Only that holy envy would have been tenfold. For my whole life, I've been entranced by Judaism, attracted to it, not quite knowing. The grounding and the generative forces of religion seemed also to be filled with a sort of mystery that, if I'm being really honest with myself, is probably just a romantic sort of tokenism, an exoticism, perhaps, something I know better than to do, and yet there was something about Judaism. Unlike Buddhism and Islam and Christianity and Unitarian Universalism, Judaism didn't really want me, and I liked that. I don't know what it says about me that I want to join the club that isn't rolling out the welcome mat, but it wasn't just that. There were other things also. Buddhism had peace and quiet. Islam had deep practice of embodiment. And Christianity, well, it was really easy to access in this country. It's everywhere, and I had lots of options. And Unitarian Universalism has provided a powerful pluralistic theology that helps me make sense of this time between birth and death, that helps me understand what it is that I am to do and how I am in relationship with all of you and all of creation. Which is all good and well, but Judaism has Passover. And I wanted Passover. I still want Passover. I like a meal, and I like a story, and I like a meal with a story. And nobody does it better than Passover. Maybe communion in the Christian sense, but Passover takes longer, it really stretches out, and there's more wine. The story of Passover, in brief, is that of the Jewish people leaving slavery in Egypt, their departure guided, to put it euphemistically, by the plagues, including frogs, which is really the most gentle of them, and then the crossing of the Red Sea, and then into the desert for 40 years, where they receive the 10 Commandments twice. This story is not a historical story. It's told and retold, and this Exodus story is really the central story of Judaism. It is a story of liberation in many parts, and lots of wilderness, and lots of uncertainty, and an abiding hope. But it is not a reenactment around the table of something that happened in history exactly in this way. It's not only a story of massive movements of people throughout time, but a story that, not by mistake, happens at a table, happens around a meal that can best be celebrated in a group of people you can have a meal and a conversation with. Yes, Passover is celebrated in temples and synagogues. Yes, Passover is talked about in various configurations of people, but at its heart, it is a deeply personal and relational story. There is something about sitting around a table with neighbors and your family that helps you understand what it means to make changes and what it means to want to feel like you need to get free. This is a story that we're invited into. Those who celebrate Passover and those of us visiting essentially as tourists now, taking inspiration from sacred texts and traditions to go deeper into our own stories and our relationships. So, as we close our season of in-betweenness here in the muddy season at First Unitarian, I want to narrow in on one small part of this story. I want to narrow in on that moment with slavery behind and the desert ahead. I want to narrow in on this moment with the soldiers behind and the Red Sea ahead. I want to narrow in on Miriam with her tambourine dancing behind the line of people who got out, and a man named Nachshon at the very front of this procession. Now, the Bible is full of exact figures and weird numbers, and one of these numbers in the tradition is that there were 600,000 people who left. This was a long procession. But the first is mentioned only briefly in the Torah, in the sacred text itself, but again and again in the rabbinic commentary, in the Mishnah. Nachshon, this youthful leader, is the first to dive into the sea. God has promised Moses that the Red Sea will part, but there's no evidence of this as Pharaoh's soldiers come barreling towards them. Nachshon plunges into the water, taking action before there's any evidence that this prophecy will come to play. Now, some rabbinic commentary says Nachshon may not have been faithful so much as foolhardy. Perhaps he tripped or fell or was pushed. Change is often like that. The point is, Nachshon took a way that was uncertain, unclear, and faithful. Miriam comes dancing at the very end, with her tambourine grabbed at the last minute, celebrating, though they have come from hardship and will head into hardship, celebrating the wins as they go, celebrating what is possible even when not everything is possible, dancing and singing to a song of freedom. 599,998 people are between them. It is a long procession. And each of these players, each of these characters on this muddy way invites us into the Passover story, inviting us in to figure out what Exodus might mean for each of us. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, the great Hasidic teacher, says that Exodus from Egypt occurs in every human being, in every era, in every year, and even on every day. So we tell this story, and our Jewish siblings among us here and beyond celebrate this story around the table every year to help us lean into waking up to how bondage and freedom might be alive, how we might break free. We are supposed to see ourselves in this story. We are supposed to find each of these characters in our own path. We're invited each and every year to ask the questions, not guiding over quickly as tourists, but really settling in to this moment. Where do I need to get free? How am I not free in my life? What keeps me from being who I am supposed to be? What am I uncertain of? What am I afraid of? What could more freedom look like to me this year? What support do I need? What celebrations are there? Passover is present for any one of us who's left a relationship that we've stayed in too long. Passover is present for anyone who's ever crossed a border, wondering if their children live a life safer and more prosperous than theirs. Passover is, do I need to lean into change and just, okay. Passover is present and audible? Okay. Passover is present for anyone who's ever changed their mind, for anyone who's ever committed to recovery from addiction again, for anyone who's ever given up being perfect, for anyone who's chosen something inconvenient. Jewish scholar Michael Waltzner reminds us that wherever you live, it is probably Egypt. And I recognize that that's a challenging statement right now as Palestinians crowd at the border, hoping to get in to somewhere safer. Egypt here as a place of bondage and oppression. Second, that there's a better place, a world more attractive. Third, that the way to that land is through the wilderness. So each of us are invited to see these characters in our lives. And if we are most of the time the 599,998 people in the middle, then for 2 minutes of this year, we can choose to be Nachshon, and we can choose to be Miriam. I know that it's about a minute each because I grew up with the Tony Award-winning musical Rent, reminding me exactly how many minutes are in a year. And it is remarkably similar to this number, off by just a little bit. So we'll say 57 seconds. And so I invite you to take 1 minute for Nachshon, to take 1 minute to think about what is muddy and uncertain in your life, what way is not yet clear, but you know that moving forward will make you more free. Where is this present in your life? Returning to the muddy middle, we offer 1 minute for Miriam, also, where change and passage so often crashes over us as if waves we cannot control. There is celebration, there is joy, there is possibility, singing and dancing, even when things are not perfect. Like so many women carrying the changes of their people, Miriam is the first of her siblings to die in the desert. She knows this. The prophecy is clear, and yet dancing she goes, cheering her people on. Where is there room for celebration in the changes you're experiencing now in your life? Let us take 1 minute for Miriam. Returning to the muddy middle, the Passover story invites us into courage and change. The Passover story acknowledges that to build a more just and loving world, to build a more beautiful tomorrow, we must be willing to head through the wilderness. We must find moments of celebration and joy. We must find ways of moving forward even when we do not yet know the answer. Again, Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. The exodus from Egypt occurs in every human being, in every era, in every year, and even on every day. Again, Michael Walzer. First, where you live is probably Egypt. Second, there is a better place, a world more attractive. Third, the way to the land is through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. Amen. Get free, my people.
Please rise our body or spirit as we sing together, "There is a river flowing in my soul."
our journey into the week ahead begins as we close our worship service. After the service, folks who are willing and able are invited to help stack the chairs with arms. You can and probably should use your hands and feet as well, but leave the armless chairs where they are and stack the other chairs. That's only the beginning of dad jokes. Please join us in our unison words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in hearts until we are together again.
Go knowing that we do not have time for the bread to rise. Go knowing that the way forward will not always be clear. Go knowing that you are not alone. And go carrying love and courage. Amen. May it be so.